Hello, my creepy crawlies, and welcome to an episode. Okay, I can't do that. I'm really not good with puppets, although this one is kind of cute. But hello, creepy crawlies, and welcome to an episode of Ice Cream Queens, where we will get together and chat about all kinds of wonderful, lovely, dark, and creepy things. So let's bring in my co-hosts, Lauren and Kat.
Hi.
Hi.
Is this our new mascot right here?
Yes. His name is Bubblegum.
Sorry, I was sitting here cracking up. I was expecting the regular hello, my creep, and then hello, hi. And I was like, I lost it.
Okay, so I have to comment. My youngest child was in here playing with this, and she was making it attack my head, and she was making it do all kinds of weird things, and I'm like, give me that. So it just happened to be in my hand, and I'm like, hello. Sorry. How is everyone this evening?
Good. I don't know if
Wonderful.
it's happening to anyone else, but your sound is going in and out for me. So
Mine is?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Let me
I'm hearing
get it closer.
popping. I'm hearing
Flip.
pops.
Yeah.
All right. Hang on. Let's try this. Is that better?
It's clippy. It's poppy, but yeah, we can keep going.
Ooh.
Let's keep
Okay.
going.
Okay. We'll figure it out. Okay. If I sound crap, I'm sorry.
Oh, bye. Hi, bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Where'd I go?
Bye.
It's one of those shows. All
It's like-
right.
It's a
I would
magic
say the
trick.
studio is
It's-
haunted, but we're not in the same spot. We're all in.
Who knows?
And
One of us is
displaced
probably haunted,
locations.
and our hauntee is haunting everyone else.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to try to unplug my mic and plug it back in. We're going to.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the Madeleine McCann, or how do you say it? Yeah, McCann, I think. They named a suspect recently. I'm not sure if anyone else found that out, but it says last month Portuguese and German officials named Buckner, who is German but lived in the Algarve between 1995 and 2007 as an official suspect. So that recently happened in news. Thought that was interesting. Watch me have mispronounced a lot of those names. I do apologize.
That actually is a very interesting case. With it just being, I mean, first of all, you go to another country, you go off-site. I mean, I know that you're still within the community and you're not that far, but you leave your children at home alone to go out and have dinner and drinks with friends. And the oldest one was probably, what, 6 or 7?
Yeah.
Who leaves their kid at home to go out partying? Just curious. Raise the
Hey,
hands.
What
Not-
country? What country is this we're talking about?
Somewhere in Europe.
Okay.
That's about all
People
I got.
don't have the same
That's true. They don't have.
keep
the-
on
but
wanting
he's,
to-
He's American.
same
aren't
parenting
they?
for the American.
I believe they were American going on vacation in Europe.
They
And
left
he's a
their
doctor
6-year-old kids to go to dinner
Well,
in
it was
Europe
like
in a
all right.
strange country.
Yeah. It was like a group of families all went together, and some of them had kids, and so they left the kids sleeping, and they all went like, okay, so here's the hotels here.
Portugal.
Thank you.
Portugal.
There was like a giant party area here where they would go down and eat dinner every single night and have drinks and hang out, and they would take turns sending one of the parents back like every it was like an hour or something like that. And so one parent would go walk around all of the rooms, make sure all of the kids were good, and then come back and
Go back down to
continue
party.
drinking. Yeah.
Yeah, but you
Is
got to
what they
think a
said
hotel.
happened.
Yeah, a hotel. So many people have keys to those rooms. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't trust that.
How many staff
Mm-mm.
members knew that those kids were alone every single night by themselves?
Exactly. The bartender who was serving the parents, for one.
Anyone
Well,
working
yeah.
at that restaurant, yeah.
Well,
and
then-
apparently they like publicized it when they came in. They were like, "Oh yeah, no, we're all gonna," and they just told them the plan. Like,
Well,
in
our
the
kids are
lobby.
upstairs alone and we're going to drink. So let's party it up. Yeah, I don't.
Well, my
don't
understanding
know.
is it was also a resort type area, and anytime that you are in a resort, most of the time they have child care providers in place to help with those type of situations because they know that people are going to be coming and going. So instead of paying extra to have somebody come and watch, they decided to let's just let the kids sleep and then let's run and do our thing and go back and check. And there's a documentary. It's actually it's a Netflix documentary. It's about 3 or 4 episodes. It is very hard to watch just because it's very long and drawn out, and you find yourself being so angry at everybody involved. But it's interesting and very much worth the watch. I think it's called Madeline McCann.
Yeah. And it's hard as a parent to not be judgy in situations like that, to not look at someone else's life choices and be like, wait, you did what?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Let's see here. The naming, we have Toy Robot Visual Arts commenting, the naming of the suspect is a legal loophole. Portugal. I don't know what that I means. Anyway, there is a time limit when someone is investigated to name them as an official suspect. It doesn't mean he's good for it.
Basically, Portugal wants to be able to say that we have it and that we've got a suspect and that we're working on it still. That kind of thing is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably a long, drawn out mess, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of long, drawn out documentaries, a while back, DL and I and a couple of other friends, family, attempted to watch a documentary on HBO, and it was the slowest thing ever. It was I Love You Now Die.
Carter? Yeah, yes. It was the Michelle Carter, I Love You Now Die.
I finished it. And it was slow the second half as well. It was
so it wasn't just the 2 or 3 bottles of wine that we had in the process. Okay.
Did it ever get good?
I got to see a different side of it. When I heard about the case, I was originally like, dang, chick, why are you telling people to go kill themselves? Like, what? But then I heard her side of it, which was the first time I had heard that. And it was interesting. I'm still on the dang chick, why are you telling people to go kill themselves? But it's a little less like
thanks, Eli.
She gets all I'm the victim too on her half of it. It's like when they do the Disney redemption arcs on the villains, that really is not necessary, but it's like, oh well, that's interesting to know.
I think in her situation, although there's much to be found at fault in how she handled it, I mean, she spent months, if not a year, listening to this guy go, hey, I'm going to kill myself. Hey, I'm going to kill myself. Hey, I'm going to kill myself. And I think finally it became like, if you're going to do it, do it. If you don't, shut up. So I think that's kind of what it almost boiled down to with her. And it was like, I know you're not going to do it. I know you're not going to do it. I'll even tell you how to do it. You're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But it's still, what is really messed up about the case is that she inserted herself into like the family's affairs afterwards, like going to the funeral and visiting the family and interacting with them and acting like she really didn't have anything to do with it. So, I mean, that I think that bothered me worse than her actions that led up to that. But I don't
Agreed.
know.
It also pointed out a lot of weird stuff with Glee that I didn't know any of that happened. She was like obsessed with characters from Glee, and like she put herself in the spot as the main character, and he was the boyfriend. And like almost a year after, oh God, what was his name? Corey? The lead character died.
The one that died?
Overdose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost to the day, like a year after that happened, is when she was telling this guy, oh, well, if you're going to do it, you're going to, get back in the car. Like, I know you're dying and you're scared right now, but get back in the car and finish it. Like, that's what she pushed it to. And then she was quoting not just stuff from the TV show, but like personal interviews with the actress about her personal relationship with that actor, and like word for word giving the exact same, like she had put herself in that, she'd cast herself as that character, as that person. It was really weird.
Okay, so Harv Witt, does anyone remember Daniel Von Dam case?
Google does.
Google remembers everything. Back at the while you're looking that up, we're just going to go through and read some of these comments. Back at the cereal box says, good evening, beautiful people. Good evening back at you. Eli Cash, obsessed with Glee. thinks she's the main character. Damn, if I'm calling her crazy, that's bad. Yeah, Eli, that is bad.
I mean, I could say I was obsessed with Glee because, it's musical and I'm the musical person, but not that obsessed. All right, let's hear. Danielle Von Dam was an American girl from the Sabre Springs neighborhood of San Diego, California, who disappeared from her bedroom during the night of February 1st through 2nd, 2002. Her body was found by searchers on February 27th in a remote area. Police suspected a neighbor, David Allen Westerfield, of the killing. He was arrested, tried, and convicted of kidnapping and first murder degree, sentenced to death, and is currently incarcerated at San Quentin State Prison. Here is her picture, if that helps. I do not know this case. I am not familiar with
No.
this one.
Mm-mm.
When he said Danielle Van Dam, the one that I was picturing in my head was, I think her name was Danielle Dunn. She was one of the Poltergeist characters, or she was one of the actresses in Poltergeist.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
The one
and
that-
The Land Before Time. Yeah, she played Ducky.
And her boyfriend came up and like killed her on her front porch or something of that nature.
I thought it was her father.
No, that was a different one. There, if you were in Poltergeist, you pretty much were doomed.
Oh, it was
to be
cursed. It was a
killed.
cursed movie. Yeah.
It
I must be
was.
thinking of a different
Mhm.
person than in Poltergeist. Pretty much anyone in Poltergeist died.
Dominique
Well-
Dunn. I'm sorry, that's her name.
Dominique Dunn.
I'm getting two people confused. The one from the Land Before Time was the one whose father killed her. The girl from Poltergeist, didn't she have like some internal blockage or some?
Oh no, you're
Oh,
thinking
Heather
of Heather
O'Rourke.
O'Rourke. Yeah, she did. She had some kind of, I'm sure she had a painful death from what it
Yes.
sounds like.
Mm.
So
Yeah, everyone wants us to know all these cases. Sawyer
I
Jameson
know.
says, "Do you guys know the Brenda Spencer case?"
So Brenda
not
Spencer
familiar.
is she's a young woman. Probably this happened, I do believe, in like the 1970s, like 78, 79, when she basically woke up one morning. I think she was high school age, was supposed to be in school, and woke up
16.
and decided I don't like Mondays, and so she proceeded to shoot up the school that she was next door to. So, but I believe that she is recognized as being one of the first. I know not the first by any stretch, because school shootings have been something that's been going on and on and on for many, many years. But she is recognized as being one of the first U.S. based ones. Are you taking notes
Mm.
now? Like, you're
No,
writing
I have notes for my stuff. I'm just getting set since we're already in true crime mode because I did a bit of research on a case
Oh.
that I wanted to talk about.
So, Toy Robot Visual Arts says
inspiration.
inspiration for this song. Which song are you talking about, Toy
Yeah, I
Robot?
want to know.
And now,
I'm assuming he's thinking about Michelle Carter and Skinned,
oh yeah,
which I forced Lauren to listen to that night. It was
Ah.
awesome. It was so cool.
All right, are we jumping in or what? Are we just?
Oh,
are
I
we
don't like
going
Mondays.
for it?
Derp.
I don't.
like
I don't like
Mondays.
Mondays.
Could
Huh.
have gone there. Okay.
Harwit says her boyfriend say they killed her because they were in an abusive relationship. They keep saying it nothing to do with the movie Poltergeist, but I saw the movie and I'm not interested in discussing that crazy movie. But a lot of crazy stuff has happened, and another actress died a little after doing the movie. Heather O'Rourke, if anyone remembers that big ... I'm assuming they're going to be typing more.
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
the
it's probably
she
like-
was the little blonde girl that
She was
had
the
had, like,
main.
right.
Yeah,
She's the one who had the stomach obstructions and then ended up passing when her family couldn't get her medical treatment in time. Eli had an ex who kept thinking she was the main character of some fantasy novel she never wrote. A changeling who thinks she's a vampire one day, and Queen of Scotland another.
Was it called Bloody Mary? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't snort. Okay, so before we jump into, I know we're kind of really already into the middle of the topic. I found out something else interesting. It was being discussed with me today by the Capana boy, and this is pertaining to the Munsters movie. We're going to just kind of shift gears and go
Oh,
back a little
yay.
bit, and then we're going to jump back into this. So, something that has been speculated about right now is that Eddie Munster and Marilyn have not been cast.
Haven't they been filming already?
They've been filming. There is a lot of speculation that the Munsters is going to be an origin story, and it has some characters. I think one of them is named Igor, and another one named Dr. Wolfgang, Dr. Wolfson. There's a doctor and an Igor. And so there's some question of whether or not it is the origin story of how Herman was built and introduced to Lily.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm like,
so that would
I
leave
kind of
out,
like that.
yeah, that would leave out Marilyn and Eddie, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe Eddie making a little bit of a show towards the end with a baby bump.
With the bubble.
He would have been
Wouldn't
later.
Marilyn
Marilyn would have
first?
been first.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marilyn was older.
But I thought she was the cousin.
I thought
Oh, well,
was she a cousin?
Cousin
I
Marilyn?
didn't.
Yeah, maybe.
Dark secret here. I didn't actually watch that show a lot.
Ooh, no, I was thinking Marilyn was the cousin. So maybe Eddie's the baby, and you have a cousin that's going to come in and help take care of him.
I do not know. That sounds
shall
cool, though.
see.
I like that
We shall
idea.
see. Okay, so we do have topic. We've been all over the topic already this morning. Marilyn was not their kid. Okay.
Mhm.
good to
Okay,
know.
so she was the cousin.
Eli says, I dig that. We do have an audience participation question, so let's go ahead and flash that up because we have some chatters in our group today.
We do.
I
I like it when they're
chatty.
chatty.
Do you think some kids or people are predisposed to killing?
I would say
I think
yes.
so.
I would definitely say yes.
I mean, we inherit so much from our family, and so do you think that the whatever it is that makes people kill, the gene possibly to make people kill, is that hereditary or is that just environmental or
It could
That's
even
the
be
nurture versus nature question.
yeah.
there could be so many things. It could be even if you believed in reincarnation or something just beyond weird, like something you did
Yeah.
and you came back and you had to correct and don't, and there's no telling.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying yes in the comments. I'm
I
going
saw
to have
Joey
to-
the roadie said yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Sawyer
Girl.
St. said yes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say absolutely yes, but I also do think a lot of it is potentially how people are raised as well. I know a lot of people are raised in very bad circumstances and they lose it and they end up slaughtering people. And then there's a lot of people who have like the best lives. They have the perfect lives and everything is peachy and keen. And they just, I'm going to save my children's life by slaughtering all of them. What, ma'am?
Yeah, it makes no sense how it happens either between.
So
yeah,
it's a bit of both, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
absolutely.
Okay, so who prepped something? Who has a story or a true crime bit they want to share?
I prepped a lot.
Ah,
Yes, we all
And
did.
I know Kat also prepped a lot. So
okay.
I'm going to try and go through mine really quickly because mine it's pretty long. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But I'm gonna go through it as fast as I can because I want to hear Kat's because you already told me what you're talking about, and I'm like, oh, I want to hear that one. So all right, I want to talk about Mary Bell, also Mary Flora Bell. We have a comment. Karen Knight says, yes, anyone who does things like torture animals when they are children.
Yes,
That's
when
one of
it
the
starts. Yeah, that's how it
Yeah.
starts.
All right.
Eli says you really can't fix bad brains.
All right. Born on May 26, 1957. Her mother was Elizabeth, also known as Betty Bell. She was a local prostitute. And her father was William, maybe father, question mark there. The person who raised her, who could potentially be the father, William Billy Bell. He was a violent alcoholic and a habitual criminal, including armed robbery. The mom was 17 when Mary was born, and she was the second born. She didn't really want anything to do with the daughter. It's actually stated, one of the sisters said that when the nurses tried to hand the baby to her, she was like, get that thing away from me.
Ew.
So great mother material right there. As a baby, and I have a lot of my notes on my phone here are nice and highlighted. As a baby, toddler, and young child, Mary frequently suffered injuries and household accidents while alone with her mother. The family thought that the mom was doing it on purpose to either like deliberately neglect her or try and harm or kill her. On one occasion, she dropped her out of a first floor window. On another occasion, she shoved sleeping pills down her throat until she had to go to the ER. She also sold Mary once to a mentally unstable woman who was unable to have children. This is me quoting the thing here. Resulting in her older sister, Catherine, having to travel alone across Newcastle to get Mary and take her back home again. Betty refused repeated offers from the family to take custody of Mary. A lot of people believe that's because Betty, in her line as a prostitute, she was also a dominatrix. That was her specialty. And she had started to get the rumor of, and also Mary did state this later in a book, she was pushing her customers to take stuff out on the little girl, encouraging the clients to sexually abuse her in sadomasochist sessions by the mid 1960s. So great childhood so far.
Yep. Ringing all the bells.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mom.
Mom just won Mom of the Century right there.
Happy Mother's Day.
There you go.
At home and at school, Mary exhibited numerous signs of disturbed and unpredictable behavior, including sudden mood swings and chronic bedwetting, which, if you don't know, the bedwetting is a sign of abuse, sexual abuse, and emotional abuse. She frequently fought with other children, attempted to strangle or suffocate her classmates or playmates on several occasions, attempted to block the trachea of a young girl with sand. A lot of the kids, if you can imagine, didn't want to play with her. I wonder why that is. She did have one close friend. They were inseparable. Her name was Norma Joyce Bell. Yes, they both have the same name, but no, they are not related. Just random, have the same last name. Norma was the 13-year-old daughter of a next-door neighbor. Let's see. Yeah. On Saturday, May 11th, 1968, a 3-year-old boy was discovered wandering dazed and bleeding around. The child later informed the police he had been playing with Mary Bell and Norma Bell. They had lured him on top of an air raid shelter, and one of the girls pushed him off of it. He fell 7 feet from the roof to the ground, ended up getting a severe laceration on the head. And that same evening, the parents of 3 small girls contacted the police to complain that both Mary and Norma had attempted to strangle their children as they played in a sandpit. So that was a full day. That evening, both of the girls were interviewed by the police, and they both denied culpability, saying, "Oh, well, we just found him wandering and hurt like that." They further questioned about the attempted strangulation of the 3 young girls. Mary denied any knowledge of the incident. However, Norma admitted Mary had tried to, quote, throttle each of the girls, stating, Mary went to one of the girls and said, "What happens if you choke someone? Do they die?" And then she gave a detail of how she tried to choke each one of them in turn. Now click on it. I want to see the whole picture. On May 25th, that's my birthday, 1968, not that year though, the day before her 11th birthday, Mary Bell strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown in an upstairs bedroom of a derelict house located at 85 St. Margaret's Road. Now, what you need to know is at the time, they were trying to demolish all of these buildings. They were the slums of the area, and they were trying to demolish all of it. So there was a lot of buildings in severe areas of being broken down and pulled apart and all of that. Let's see here. Mary is believed to have committed this crime alone. Brown's body was discovered by 3 children at 3:30 p.m. He was lying on his back with his arms stretched above his head. There were some specks of blood and foam around the mouth, but there was no signs of violence on the body, and there was a thing of tablets found next to him. A lot of people thought that maybe he had overdosed. He had found the pills, taken them, and died. A local workman named John Hall soon arrived. He tried to do CPR, was unable to save the child, and 2 local girls wandered in while this was happening, 10-year-old Mary Bell and 13-year-old friend and neighbor Norma Bell. The guy sent them away, but she was trying to show her friend, "Hey, look what I did." They were shooed out of the house, and the 2 went to knock on the door of Martin's aunt, and informed her, quote, "One of your sister's bairns has just had an accident. We think it's Martin, but we can't tell because there's blood all over him." The
Ooh.
following day, Dr. Bernard Knight conducted a mortem upon the body of Martin Brown. He was unable to find any signs of violence, but he was able to say that no, it was not poisoning. On Mary's 11th birthday, the next day, Norma and Mary broke into a nearby nursery and vandalized it. They left 4 notes with them. On the notes, if you can see here, "I murder so they may come back." Mary had the idea that one of them would write a letter, then the next girl would write the next letter, and they traded letters back and forth so that no one would be able to identify their handwriting. They left these 4 notes in the nursery that they had vandalized. A lot of people speculate that that's to hide who it was, and also in case Mary ever wanted to say, "Oh, well, she did it," she would have her handwriting as well, because the notes say things like, "We killed him," and we're very inclusive on that. There are also some not nice words in there, so I'm actually going to skip reading the rest of those. 2 days later, shortly before the funeral of Martin Brown, both of the girls went to his mother's house asking to see her son. And when the mom was confused and she was like, "Honey, he's dead," they're like, "Yeah, I know. We want to see him in the coffin." So that was wonderful and loving of them. A lot of people were really mad about the construction zones and everything being torn down and built back up again, that they held a rally trying to fight all of this demolition and everything, in which Mary and her lovely self, just like a regular old killer, inserted herself into the situation and decided that she was going to be in on this rally and hold one of the signs in the protest.
That's an admission to guilt right there. Yes. It really is.
A lot of serial killers will do that. If there's like someone's taking volunteers to help go look or things like that, that's very common.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brian Howe, on the afternoon of July 31st, 1968, he was last seen by his parents on the street outside playing with one of his siblings, the family dog, and Mary Bell and Norma Bell. He did not return home, and everyone started looking for him up and down the streets. Mary and Norma took his sister, and while skipping down the road, were trying to lead. Bless you.
Sorry.
No, you're good. While they were skipping down the road, like dance skipping, they kept trying to lead the sister to where the body was, but the sister was like, "No, he wouldn't go over there. He wouldn't play over there." And she led them away to a different direction. Other people found the body, but they wanted to see the sister's reaction in finding the body. They were trying to lead her there. Yup. Once again, inserting herself into the situation. The first policeman to arrive on the scene observed that there was a deliberate but feeble attempt to be made in concealing the body. It was covered with clumps of grass and weeds. There was a broken pair of scissors lying next to him. He had died of strangulation. The killer evidently squeezed his nostrils closed with one hand and gripped his throat with the other. There were also 6 puncture wounds to his legs. A section of his hair had been cut, and his genitals had been partially mutilated as a crude attempt. And there was a crude attempt to be made to make the initial M carved into his stomach, which they went back and looked at. It looked like one of them put N, the initial N, and then somebody else came back and finished the N and turned it into an M. So people argue over whether they were trying to frame one or the other one, or if they were putting their initials in it to take credit, or what that was about. Because there was not a lot of force used to kill the child, the coroner concluded it was a murder by another child. More than 1,200 children were questioned. Mary Bell and Norma Bell were questioned on August 1st. And initially they're like, "Oh, yeah, no, we were playing with him, but we didn't see him after lunch. Like, he went off and played with someone else." Then they went and questioned again. And Mary suddenly remembered having seen him play with an 8-year-old boy. She gave a detail of the boy and how he had a pair of scissors and he was covered in grass from rolling down a hill. But the scissors were broken, and she gave all of these details to the police about the boy and all of the things she had noticed. And the police were like, "Yeah, okay, this boy, gotcha." they started talking to them more, and finally they broke down and were like, well, she did it. No, she did it. And they did the other one did it game for a very long time. When they'd taken them to court, let's see here, on August 4th, the parents of Norma Bell contacted police stating that their daughter wished to confess what she knew of the death of Brian. Mary had taken her to a spot on the Tin Lizzie, which is where they had found the body, at which point she had shown Brian's body. So once again, she's saying, oh, well, she just showed him to me. He was dead when I got there. Eventually, she did confess that, oh, no, I was there when it happened, and they continued playing the back and forth game. One of the officers was watching Mary when the coffin was being brought out, and he noted, quote, she stood there laughing and rubbing her hands. I thought, my God, I've got to bring her in. She'll do another one. When they were,
right.
Yes.
He was right, yeah.
Yeah. Both girls were formally charged with murder, and whenever it got to actually being put in the court systems, somebody went and did a psychological review on the girls. They stated that Norma was behind in years and she just followed along, but they stated that Mary was very dominant in her personality, and she was the one leading all of it, even though she was the one who was younger in the situation. So whenever they went into court, Norma went first. She testified, and the judge was like, okay, well, you were following along, and she was let off. Mary, however, was not. She went in, she said the exact same stuff. She expected the same outcome. The trial lasted 9 days. On December 17th, the jury retired to consider the verdict and would deliberate for 3 hours and 25 minutes. Mary Bell was cleared of murder, but convicted of the grounds of manslaughter because of her mental things that she was going through. So she was not convicted of murder, but she was convicted of manslaughter. Norma Bell was acquitted of all charges. Upon hearing the jury's verdicts, Norma clapped her hands in excitement, and Mary Bell burst into tears as her mother and her grandmother also wept. Bell was moved around a lot in different facilities. She was actually stuck in one for quite a long time, where she was the only female among approximately 24 inmates. And she was there when she was about 13. And she does state in the book later, which she helped write on her life, there was a lot of sexual assault and things even after she got locked up. So she dealt with that in her childhood, did all of this stuff, and then had to deal with it again for many years. Let's see here. She escaped from prison in June of 1976, where she and another inmate, Annette Priest, briefly escaped from prison. There's a big headline if you look it up, but she escaped apparently to lose her virginity. That's what she wanted to do. She was found a couple days later with blonde hair and trying to change her person or the way she looked, so they couldn't find her. She was released and went into working under supervision. So she was first a secretary and then a waitress. She was released entirely May 1980 at the age of 23 after having served 11 and a half years in custody. She was granted I can never say this word, anonymity, including her name, allowing her to start a new life elsewhere in the country. At the age of 25, May 1984, she gave birth to a daughter, and then later she became a grandmother. She fought in the court systems to keep them anonymous. They did the media found her when her daughter was 14 years old. Her daughter had no idea what was going on. Her mom had not told her any of the story, and they had to be driven to a safe house by undercover officers and go back into hiding and move and all of that. But she is free to this day. In 1998, she collaborated with author Gita Sereni to provide an account on her life before and after her crimes in the book Cries Unheard, the story of Mary Bell, where she details the abuse she suffered as a child at the hands of her mother, and she alleges several of her mother's clients. Others interviewed her relatives, friends, and professionals who knew her before, during, and after her imprisonment. Belle's current whereabouts are unknown and remain protected by the 2003 High Court order. In the book, Belle does not claim she was wrongly convicted and freely admits the abuse she suffered as a child does not excuse her crimes. And she is free and living her life to this day. I'm done.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was a
Criminal
lot.
profiling tells us it's a combination.
Combination, yeah, of nature versus nurture.
And yeah, thank you for that comment, Geek Gumshoe. So yeah, I just really wanted to talk that over. I know that was a lot. I apologize if I took forever.
No,
it's actually a very
That's a lot of
interesting-
information. Yeah.
It is a lot of information. It is a very interesting story that a lot of people might not be 100% familiar with. So, no, thank you. No, I understand, Kat, you have a very interesting, probably a bit more well-known.
Yeah, mine's very, very well known. We're going to go back in time 130 years. So
Can we sing the song?
You can sing the song, absolutely.
Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. I don't think that's the tune, but that's close enough.
Yeah, it's you're right. You're right there though. Yes, we are going to go back to Fall River, Massachusetts on August 4th, 1982. And of course, we have what everybody thinks is our killer child, Lizzie Borden, who is at the time, I believe she's 32 years of age. And also we have a couple of other people. We're just gonna list out everybody who is in this home here in Fall River. So we have Andrew Borden. Andrew Borden is a very well-known businessman in Fall River, and he is 69 years of age during this day. And we'll do a little bit of backstory on him. He's a businessman, and they call him an undertaker. And when you think of undertaker, you think immediately like a cemetery, like a grave undertaker, but he wasn't. He went into business with a partner and had a furniture business. And what they did is they supplied furniture to funerals. Like when you had a funeral, you had it in your own parlor back then. So you would host them in your living room, and he would supply the chairs out. And then also they built furniture. So he would they would build the casket for your loved one. So that's how he became well-to-do. He was the president of a bank. So this is how he generated his wealth. He was a self-made businessman. So he didn't get money from his family. His family was well-to-do between, I think, two sides, but his side wasn't on the well-to-do side. So he created his wealth that way. Now, he had a wife whose name was Sarah. Sarah passed away when we have an older sister named Emma to Lizzie, who was 40 years of age at the time of this murder. And the mother is Sarah. Sarah dies when Lizzie is about 2 years old. So the older sister, Emma, remembers the mom very well. She was 9 when her mother passed, but Lizzie, however, doesn't remember her mom so well. So there's another lady that he marries named Abigail. And Abby, I want to say Lizzie was probably about 4 or 5 years old when her mother or her dad remarried this lady who's her stepmom. But to Lizzie, Abby is technically her mother. Now to Emma was 9 and was probably about, 12, 13, 14 when her father got remarried. So just kind of painting the story of all the people who are in the family. So in the home, we have Andrew lives there. We have Abby who lives there. We also have Lizzie and her sister Emma. We also have Bridget, who is the maid, and she lives upstairs. They call it the loft, but you and I would call it the attic. It's almost like the crawl space up above the second story of the home. Now, we also have one more person that came into the house and stayed that night, who arrived on August the 3rd, spent the night into August 4th, and left out early that morning, who is John Morse. Now, John Morse is Andrew's brother-in-law, but he is Sarah, his first wife's brother. So already I'm just trying to get to where all the characters are. So these are all the people Not okay. I'm saying these are all the people who live in the house plus John who stayed in the house. But Emma was away for a week or so before John arrived. So supposedly Emma wasn't there during the murder that night. She was away in a place called, it was like Fairhaven or something. It was across the river. So she wasn't home, which took time to travel to. So everybody's leaving Emma out of this as far as we know. So here's kind of what happens. So the next day, I'm just going to kind of run through the timeline. At 7 a.m., they all have breakfast. It's John, it's Abby, and Andrew, and they're in the kitchen and they all have breakfast together. Around this time, Lizzie's not downstairs having breakfast with the family. She's kind of pushed herself away at this time because of some family drama, we can say, between her father and stepmother and herself and her sister. And it all stems from her stepmother, who has a sister who was going to be put out on the street because she couldn't afford to pay the rent in her home. Now, her father bailed his sister-in-law out of the money trouble and bought the home so his sister can live, or Abby's sister can live there completely rent-free. So you have two older grown spinster sisters. You have one who's 32 and 40 who live at the home, whose father never gave them a home, mind you. So they're living in this house with their stepmother and their father, he helps pay for their lifestyle, and they can have a lavish lifestyle, but they have never received their own home and are still living under their roof. So that has upset the sisters, and they're kind of pushed themselves away slightly from their father and their stepmom. Understandable, they're upset because it's a freedom thing. They want their money. They want, they want their own life at this point, but they don't earn their own living. So this is why Lizzie is not there eating breakfast at 7 in the morning with her father and her stepmom and the visitor. Now, by 8:45 in the morning, John leaves, who is the one who's staying, and he leaves and he's gone for the day. The next thing that happens is 9:15 in the morning, Andrew leaves and he goes off to work because they live in the business district of town. So everybody knows his whereabouts. Everybody, I think, knows his patterns also. So he leaves at 9:15 to go to work. There's the house right there. And it really hasn't changed much from what I understand over the years. There's a barn right there behind the house. And keep in mind that barn that's right there out of the back door as well, because we're going to kind of go into that. So now it's the next thing on the timeline is 10:45 in the morning. Andrew arrives back home and he wants to come home, and he goes to the sitting room to take a nap. And this is, an hour and a half after he left for the morning to handle his business. So he's back. Now, there's a couple different things that kind of happen at this point. Bridget was sent out of the house in the morning to go clean the windows by Abby. So for whatever reason, I don't know, Abby just didn't want her in the house. She sent her outside to clean the windows. But Bridget is now at this point back into her room upstairs in the loft to take a rest. She's tired. She says she lays down because she's been outside scrubbing windows all morning. Now, around 11:15, between 11 and 11:15, Lizzie says 11:15, she finds her father after he had been hatcheted in the sitting room on the couch. That's the photo right there. That's the famous photo that everybody has seen. But what people do not realize that he has been moved around in this photo. So that's not how Lizzie found her father. I know they've kind of got him covered up and everything, but Lizzie was home the whole morning, supposedly. She claims she left the house at 11 o'clock that morning to go out into the barn, and she went out through the back door to go get some leaded weights for a fishing trip that she was getting ready to have coming up. And then she came back into the house from the back door between about 10:45, she says, as her dad arrived home, and at 11:15. and she finds her dad at 11:15. And then by 11:30, she yells for Bridget, and she sends for Bridget to go out to get the police. So that's the whole timeline as far as what happened in the morning by 11:30 in the morning. So somewhere between, we're going to say this could possibly have happened between like 9:30 and 11:15. Both Abby and Andrew are dead. Now, the reason they think, there's Abby right there. Now, the reason they're going to say they think Abby died, the way the police found her, is she was upstairs. She's in the upstairs bedroom, and she's in the guest bedroom. She is cleaning or turning down the bed of where John Morse slept for the night. But the thing is her blood is coagulated. So her blood is coagulated, and there's also, they did an autopsy, and they found food in her stomach that was undigested. So they think she died much sooner, anywhere up to an hour and a half before Andrew did. Now, Andrew was seen alive, so Abby was dead we know Bridget was around the house, and we also know that Lizzie was in the house as well. So when they found Andrew, his food was all digested, and he was laying on the couch. Now, some people speculate, because he was a proper businessman, that he would not have had his jacket rolled up and tucked under his head the way it was on the headrest, that he would have properly hung his coat up. So they don't know if the murderer used the coat possibly to cover the body when we would say he's axed, because it was kind of like a hatchet. It was an axe. Now, Abby was hit first on the side of the head right here, and then spun to where her face went face down in the carpet. And then she was hit about 18 times. They think 18 to 19 times. So
wow.
That's how many times Abby was hit. Now, that's a mad rage right there, is what we're going to say. But then Andrew was hit about 11 times and in the front of the face, probably completely, asleep as it started. So we don't really know exactly how he was found. Now, Abby, we think pretty much was found how she was found. But we have a few little things here that kind of happened that people have talked about, where that morning there was a man seen around the home banging on the door that was really angry, and nobody knows who he was, but a neighbor speculated they saw somebody banging on the door who was upset, trying to get a hold of Andrew. Is it a possible unknown for somebody to hit you 19 times, or your wife 19 times with an axe? It's very possible. We don't really know. And also they're saying too, because now this is pre-air conditioned times in the home. So the second story of the house is going to be a lot warmer than downstairs. So how they think that the blood is coagulated, where they're saying there was an hour and a half time difference between the two murderers, is very possible. It's a lot less time, where it could be anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes before Andrew came in, because that heat in that home could have, start drying up the blood a lot faster than what we think. So we don't know. Now, here's where it gets this is where it becomes like the trial of the century, because this is what it is. This is detective everything. This is kind of what starts it and sets it into motion, really, is this trial, because this goes nationwide. Everybody hears about it. Like I said, the song, it's not just a local trial. It's the whole country is just completely, everybody's pointing to Lizzie. And they're pointing to Lizzie because a few things that didn't add up. Now, right after the murders, or the evening of the murders, Lizzie is seen burning a dress. And this is apparently something, if you're affluent, that you do to get rid of old garments. You don't give them away to the needy. You burn them on your stove. So we have a lady who I guess is a family friend who saw this, and she thought it was really bizarre that Lizzie was burning a dress the night that her parents passed away. It's a lady named Alice Russell, and I guess she's a family friend, and she saw Lizzie burn the dress on the Sunday after the murders. Now, that comes out later into the trial, but the thing about it is they bring Lizzie in and they arrest her. It's about 6 days after this happens, because the way she responds, the police just don't buy her story. She's just not really upset about it. They don't like her response, her reaction. They for whatever reason, they pull Lizzie. Now, nobody pulls Bridget, and Bridget is seen also leave the house that evening with a bag of things, and nobody stops her. Nobody questions her. She just leaves the house with a big old bag that she's taking somewhere, and we couldn't tell you what that was, if that's evidence. Kind of strange, but nobody really knows what exactly Bridget took out of the house. So that right there, yeah, could everybody have been in on it? Absolutely. You could have Lizzie, you could have Emma. Their motives could have been money. We don't know. We really don't know. Could it have been John Morse, because that's his brother-in-law? He could have been upset about the marriage to Abby. We really don't know. Or it could have been an outside unknown person. That we don't know. So the trial doesn't begin until about June 5th. Now, they have something called an inquest for Lizzie, and they keep her locked up until the trial. And the reason they do is because none of her stories match up. But we found later that they dismissed anything she said on her inquest because she was doped up on morphine at the time. So everything she said contradicted the other thing, and she was high as hell. Like, nobody really knew, or she probably didn't even really understand the questions at the time. So
I remember that, yeah.
So Lizzie, everything she says before the trial is kind of dismissed during the trial. Now, during the trial, it goes on till about June. It goes till, it starts in June 5th, and it goes until June 20th, where Lizzie is acquitted. Now, some of the bizarre things they brought into the trial was the parents' skulls. Like, they bring the skulls into the courthouse where they show where they're showing all the wounds into the skull, the incision, how many times, based on, that's their forensics that they have at the time that they use. They also have a piece of axe that is broken off that they found downstairs in the basement. Come to find out later, after time and science and space catch up, that it was checked for DNA evidence, and there's absolutely no blood DNA evidence that was on the axe topper that you see that's floating around on the internet. There's none of anybody on that axe. It's just an old broken axe that was downstairs, but they bring it in and they assume that's the murder weapon, but it honestly never was the murder weapon. But so after about June 20th, she is indicted, and she is not charged for the murders of her parents. Now, everybody in the town that's close to Lizzie is very grateful. She's a church-going girl. She is what they call a teetotaler. She doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke. She's very big into her community, and she's just been a staple, I guess, in Fall River. But for the rest of the world who doesn't know her, they're all, everybody's pissed. They want blood for this, and they can't get it because they all assume that it's Lizzie. So it's still one of the greatest mysteries that has never been solved. And unfortunately, due to all the people involved, we will never be able to solve this murder mystery, because there's so many other little details that I didn't go into, like the doors, how they were locked when her father came and arrived, which wasn't normally how it happened. So there's a couple possibilities, but one thing I will say for me that kind of is a miss after this trial is Bridget, the maid, left soon after all this and just fled to Canada. And nobody's ever seen from her, heard from her. So it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, it could have been her.
Bridget might have done it.
I don't leave anybody off the table as far as who. It could have been Lizzie, it could have been Bridget, it could have been Lizzie, Emma, and Bridget all acting. They could have all gotten paid after. We don't know. We know that there was money dispersed after the fact, because we know that Lizzie moved to a place in Fall River, which was the ritzier part of town called The Hill. And that's where she told everybody, even before her father died, that's where she thought she ought to live, not in this old house. Her dad made her live real frugal and in an old home, and then not in the, I guess, what you would call the prosperous side of town. So Lizzie already had a mindset that she wanted to have a lifestyle. So, but after her parents passed, she could, carry on with her wishes and live out her lifestyle the way that she wanted to. But like I said, there's no real way of knowing. And she could have been in it with Mr. Morse. We really don't know.
I
know
love
that.
Oh, sorry.
We
I was
don't
about to say, I
know.
love the conspiracies behind all of it. Like, a bunch of people will go into,
Yeah.
oh, well, she did the crimes naked. That's why there's no, like, there's so many conspiracies.
Oh no,
with
She
she
it.
burned the
had
clothing.
so much clothing and so much time to change her clothes. In that timeline alone, between Lizzie discovering her father and telling Bridget, I mean, there was 15 minutes. There's a whole half hour right there where her whereabouts are just unknown, really. So we don't know.
And if I remember correct, just things that I've read about the family, she wanted to live in a more affluent neighborhood, thought that she should have been in a more affluent neighborhood. And her father was a bit on the stingy side. There is a story of basically a dinner being served, and if you didn't eat it, it came back out another night, and then it came back out another night. It was basically just rancid by the time they were allowed to throw it away. So and it's like, those are stories that you're like, I'm not 100% sure if that is accurate.
Yeah, I don't know if that's accurate or not. Yeah, because he sent her to Europe for a long vacation. They make him sound cheap, but at the same time, he did spend money on the girls and let them have nice vacations, have nice things, as far as their lives went. But we really don't know, because none of us, it's like you said, none of us were there. None of us lived in that time. And then I'm sure the ball was dropped so many times. Like, how did the police let Bridget leave with a garbage bag? Or I don't think they had garbage bags per se, probably some kind of burlap bag back then full of things, and not stop her and check her after the murders. Like, that just, that could have been just evidence going right out the door. We don't know.
Geek Gumshoe brought up a really interesting topic or point, said that there are so many similarities between the Borden killings and the Menendez killings.
This brothers,
which
yeah.
Yes, it's basically the same type of motive, the same type of situation. And of course, I don't think there's an axe involved in the Menendez. I can't remember what the weapon was, but yeah, I can definitely see where it would have similar motives. And I'm also kind of curious with the Lizzie Borden case, because that brought a lot of attention to a town, and not normally you would not want your sleepy little town to have all of this negative attention, even if it's in association with a trial. But I'm just curious how the Borden sisters were regarded after this.
I think
they
kept to them. Yeah, they kept to themselves from what we know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they had to, just because, as you can imagine, if you were acquitted after your parents were murdered and everybody believed it to be you, I mean, at that point, you'd be trying to change your name, change your look, just change everything. I don't think I would move to the more affluent side of town. I think I would be like fleeing to another country and changing everything. But back then that wasn't the normal thing to do, except for Bridget. Bridget did leave the country, so we have to kind of think
she did.
She really did. So
I see the ticker is going across the bottom, which means that we are at the top of our hour. And
this was the fastest episode ever.
Yeah,
I think a lot of times when we find a topic that we just kind of deep dive into and we talk a lot about it, we can spend, I mean, Lizzie Borden alone or Mary Bell alone, we probably could have spent the entire show talking about one of those two subjects, and just, and maybe that's what we need to do with some true crime. Maybe we need to find a singular subject, everybody do some research on it, and let's put it together.
Yes. We missed visuals tonight. I feel bad. I'm like, I wish I had the pictures of them, but I know everybody has seen it the murder scenes and everything online. So it's all there. It's, it hasn't changed in 130 years.
Actually, it's a bed and breakfast now.
wanna
I would love to
go.
go. I want to
Field
go.
trip.
I've heard that there's a wait list of like a year or something of that nature, maybe even longer.
Let's get
We'll be
down on
making
that
phone
waiting
calls like, hey,
Okay.
when somebody's got a cancellation.
I know, call us. We'll be there.
Mhm. Exactly.
list.
All right. So, anything else that we need to kind of touch base on and chat about, or I think we're good. I think we're good.
I think we
That's
can.
it.
I think we
I did have
covered
some.
it.
I did have some stuff, but we'll save that for a later
Oh.
date because no, actually, I was going to talk about Burke Ramsey a little bit.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and I think maybe we might
Oh.
want to set aside an episode and do nothing about John Bonet, all of the conspiracy theories, the 20 years after the fact when he came and did his in-person appearance with Dr. Phil that made everybody extremely uncomfortable. I have theories about that too. I have theories. So, but yeah, I think we need to. I think when we're talking true crime, I think maybe we might want to pick out one thing and just really deep dive and just pick it all apart like a vulture on
down
a
with it.
carcass.
I
Yeah,
like picking things apart. Let's go.
I do too.
Do it.
Okay. All right. So if you like what you saw, the biggest thing that you can do is continue to watch, share with your friends, promote us on social media. We do have a Facebook page, we do have an Instagram page, and we do have a TikTok page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're like all over the place. So just come find us and chit chat with us, and we love having you there and on with us and talking with us. You can also support our show through the Buy Me a Coffee, which is going to come back around here. So the Buy Me a Coffee is actually part of the Cereal Box Podcast Network. So if you do support us through Buy Me a Coffee, make sure you designate that too. If you hate our shows, what? Wait a minute. Has anybody read this?
If you hate
No, we're
our
not
shows,
reading it.
contribute generously so we can make improvements for you.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what do you mean if you hate our shows? How in the world? Whoa! I'm like, if you hate our shows, we're named
If you
this.
love
No, I'm
our
just kidding.
shows, contribute. Oh my gosh.
I just caught that. But yes, we are part of the Cereal Box Podcast. If you like our shows, not hate, cover that up. If you like our shows, you can donate to the Buy Me a Coffee / Cereal Box Podcast and designate it to Ice Cream Queens. And of course, we want to say thank you to Toy Robot Visual Arts, the Cabana Boy, who is behind the scenes, and to Johnny for allowing us to do this. And hopefully pretty soon we should be getting a new Joey the Roadie helping us out behind the scenes.
All right.
So
We'll take all the help.
we need help.
We'll take all the help we can get.
And with that said, hang on, wait a minute. He's got to do it. Pleasant squeeze. No, he doesn't do it well. Pleasant
Oh, yeah.
squeeze.